My name is Tyson Adams, and I am the founder of Jai Coffee House.
Hi, my name is Michael Wood. I'm the founder of Philanthropy.
Yeah, I first came to Laos 7 years ago as a tourist, and this project happened to me actually in a dream. I fell asleep one night and had a dream that I was going to import Lao coffee to America and provide education support back to the local coffee community, specifically the children in the schools that are growing the coffee. And Jai Coffee House actually is born of that dream. What Jai is we are the world's first completely philanthropic coffee roaster and cafe located directly at the source. And what that means is that we actually educate farmers on sustainable and specialty coffee practices. We then purchase that coffee from them and roast it here in the cafe, and then when tourists flow through, they purchase that coffee, and then we reinvest those profits back into the local community in terms of schools. So what we do is we put in clean water wells, and we run hygiene programs for the kids that are living in these communities. We've accomplished quite a lot actually in the last 2.5 years. The major milestones is that we've actually put in 10 clean water wells at local schools. We've also run 32 hygiene programs, which entails washing your hands, so those are wash programs, and also oral hygiene programs, and then also put in clean water filters at those schools. So roughly 4,200 kids have benefited from our hygiene programs. And we've also recently finished our first primary school, which is over here in Pumako Village, which is actually one of our best coffee growing communities. Yeah, some of the challenges that we first-handedly experienced is the cooperative really not understanding that we're all one. And so what we've really help to do is to bring the community together, and that's what this cafe specifically does. This cafe provides a home base for meetings and coffee trainings and education. So when coffee farmers can come in and have their coffee roasted and brewed, and then they can cup their own coffees. This is the first time they've ever actually tried their own coffees in their entire lives. And the benefit of that is that when they have a relationship with the end product, it tremendously raises the quality of coffee that they can actually produce.
I mean, technically the reason why we became interested in Laos, right off the bat, Laos is one of the least developed countries in all of Asia. In terms of poverty, there's extreme poverty. Champasak is one of the wealthiest provinces. However, the coffee farmers here, a lot of them are some of the poorest farmers in Laos. Another thing that's really interesting is specifically here in Paksong and Champasak is the diversity in terms of ethnic minorities. So, of course, a lot of people say, wow, what even is that? But within that, what is Champasak province? And there's all these indigenous ethnic groups that they still have little bits and pieces of their cultural heritage, and it's interesting to look at how does that connect with what they're doing, and they're growing coffee, and they have this identity that's, they have the right to preserve this identity in their cultural heritage, and being able to understand the value of coffee, being able to switch their relationship with coffee to where it's one of empowerment versus one that's just, I'm a producer of coffee, basically I'm a laborer, but instead of that, saying I'm an artisan with what I do. That allows them to kind of use coffee as sort of a buffer in terms of development, because there's a lot of development that is misunderstood or unwanted by some of these communities. And this, re-understanding their relationship with coffee gives them the choice to say, we want to do this versus we have to do this. So for me, it's really about community empowerment and giving them options, giving them the choice to develop in a specific way versus what has happened in some other countries where cultural identity has been lost. So that might be a little bit deeper than what you were asking, but really that's why we're here. It's about using coffee to empower indigenous ethnic groups and allow them to develop at their own pace. I fundamentally believe that farmers are the caretakers of the planet. They're the only ones that are sitting there in the soil with their hands in the soil trying to take care of the planet. And what's the one farmer that we commonly interact with that is so common in our daily lives, and it happens to be coffee. And if we really change our relationship with this, we can basically go to these communities and say, we actually believe in what you do, and please take care of our planet for us, because we can't do it, but we can support you through this. And so that's what I mean by empowering the communities, and I'm talking about people in the United States, in Canada, in Europe, in Australia, consuming countries. They can be empowered to change the world simply with this. And it sounds a little bit crazy, but it's real. It's real. When that supply chain changes, when the customers or the consumers or the drinkers make the choice, out here in Laos, these farmers are happy to take care of their land. They want nothing more than to take care of their soil, to be organic, to feel like their soil is sacred. I mean, these are deeply held beliefs within these people, and yeah, that's why we're here. I want to protect that. I want to protect that sacred connection they have with the soil. I mean, it's one of those things where you can make a choice to empower people on both sides of the coffee cup. So you have the coffee producers, the farmers, who they need help, they need recognition, they need to understand that this is not just something that they're taking out of their soil and giving to other people, but no, there are other people on the other side that are making that choice to change their relationship with this cup of coffee and say, this is great because I know what I'm doing, and on the other side, the farmers are actually receiving what they deserve. Hello, chicken! You want to come in? I mean, we can interview you too.
Cat, will you move that chicken, please? Kitty.
Where's the ducks? Get the ducks.
Hey,
ducks, go get the chicken.
Kitty, get out of the...
Chase the chicken out of there.
Oh, you're such a big cock.
I got it.
It's the big one with the red head. Just
Sick him, Dad. Sick him.
yeah, chase him.
It's that same one. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the work here is just empowerment on understanding what is coffee. Because there is such a disconnect, at least in these areas. I'd say Southeast Asia. I mean, of course, you have African coffee markets where the farmers know what quality is and they try really hard. But here, they've never been really engaged in that way. So we have middlemen, we have big companies, you have buyers who are looking for commercial grade, lower grade coffees, and they don't care and they don't train. And so these farmers are saying, well, I'd like to earn more, but what does that actually mean? So a lot of the times it's out there just explaining basic things. I mean, countless times we've been out there with their own coffee, hand grinding it, brewing it on a filter in their in their houses, and then drinking it and going, oh, this is weird, this is sour, it's supposed to be bitter and dark, and slowly letting them understand how the world views their coffee. Once they get this idea and they say, oh, we can do this, then comes identifying key farmers in the village. So there's always the game changers in every single community that we work with, and that one that just has kind of that vision, and focusing on them and pushing a little bit with them and showing them exactly everything step by step, whether it's how to raise a seedling, whether it's how to make compost, whether it's how to graft a coffee tree onto another coffee tree, whether it's how to pick the cherries, how to train a team of pickers and manage them, how to properly process. I mean, it's from seed to cup, but slowly we find out where they are, how they learn best, and then focusing so much intense energy on them, and then empowering them to kind of radiate out into the community. Because of course, it's a little bit crazy to just say, okay, come on, everybody come around and let us just speak. It's much more powerful to teach a few and then let them kind of radiate out into the community, and then the whole community owns that. Because even now, if we step out, we can still do it. They're not dependent on us, and I think that's a pretty big key element to what we do. Is I do not want them to be dependent on us. I believe that successful charity work means that you plan for your obsolescence. Like, we should not be needed in a few years, and once that happens, we truly have been successful. So I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it's good.
So I look at it in kind of different terms of impact as well. Like, there's the known or the visible by the community, and basically the unknown. And these, I'll talk about what I mean by unknown. So a few years back, and the Bolivian Plateau was basically zoned out for mining. This was zoned out for aluminum mining, which basically means we scrape off all that sacred 18 centimeters of soil off the top, which the entire world lives in that 18 centimeters of soil. It's where all our food's grown. It's where all the forests gain their nutrients. Like, without that, there is pretty much no life. They were going to scrape all that off and move all of these people off their land, and it was going to be mining. the coffee started to pick up, and this shifted. So now they're not looking at mining concessions anymore. Now it's looking at coffee and pushing that, and they're talking about membership with the International Coffee Organization under the United Nations. And now there is kind of this protection of the land, because now they say, oh, wait a minute, we're getting international recognition for our coffee. And I'm not saying that our work is like directly because of that, but indirectly in some way we have allowed the industry to be recognized internationally. Whether it be international agencies working to do varietal programs here in Laos. We've been part of that with the JCFC, working to connect them with that. There's the governmental, the political level that has been working and that has protected their land. So now that's not into mining. Then the known by the villages is, there's pride. There's real pride in what they do. And a real engagement back in the soil, and actually them seeing as farming as maybe something that is not just dirty work, but an actual profession. In the first couple of years when we were here, it was a lot of push, like, okay, we really want to see you guys do this because we believe in you, and there's a lot of resistance. And the idea of talking about making composts or learning how to recycle wastes organically, all these things was kind of like yeah. But now you have farmers coming up and like, okay, actually, so I have this waste. What can we do with this? Can we make compost with this? Or how do I properly prune my trees? Or okay, what are you seeing in my farm? What can we do about this disease or this pest? And now you see them asking questions. Before they weren't asking questions. It was just, whatever I have is what I have, and okay. But now they're actively engaged, and to see that is something that is extremely rare in this area. And to see them empowered and thinking and asking questions and trying to find solutions, I'd say that's the biggest visible change I've seen, and one that I'm eternally grateful to experience with them, but just so happy for them to be in that frame of mind.
For me, I need to step back and just explain the Jai Coffee Farmers Cooperative. Okay, I'll start over.
Yeah.
Just to give us sort of a vision of what this cooperative looks like. The Jai Coffee Farmers Cooperative is now over 2,200 families in 63 villages. There's 75 villages on the Bolivian Plateau, so we have essentially members in almost every village. That's a few families to, in some cases, 20 or 30 families in a particular village. And so when I first arrived here 7 years ago as a tourist, the cooperative was essentially 9 villages. It was just a few hundred families, and there was a lot of mismanagement, there was a lot of corruption, there was a lot of exploitation, there was a lot of mistrust. And so as this thing has unfolded and unraveled over the past few years, Philanthropy and Jai, we've essentially created an infrastructure where members are able to hold the village chiefs accountable, and village chiefs are able to hold management accountable, and we're able to create essentially a coming together operation where there's a true cooperative that actually exists. Before, it was very fractured, and every family would sell out to whoever they could sell out to. Middlemen would come in and exploit, or large companies would essentially hold farmers in debt to by giving them all types of things, whether it's food or fertilizers or pesticides. So what you are experiencing now, and this is something that we're very excited about, which is that we are creating the first traceable and transparent payment system to ever really exist, like in the country of Laos. I mean, it's the first time. So what that means is that when a farmer picks cherries in their own coffee farm, and then they actually bring those to the village chief, who then processes it into parchment, and then the village chief gives it to the JCFC management, who then peels that and sells it as green bean to an international buyer. That international buyer knows that when they purchase that coffee, that money trickles all the way back down to the exact farmers who grew that coffee and picked it in their own farms. And I think that has been the most beautiful thing that we've essentially been able to present to the cooperative, and then for the cooperative to say, we're not really sure how this is going to work, but we think that this is a good idea. And then the cooperative presents it to their membership as a joint effort. So it's not us imposing a system on them, but they're saying, yeah, let's try it. Let's see if it works. And in doing so, the farmers that are actually growing this coffee are going to receive maybe triple the amount that they've ever received for their coffee. And to me, that has been truly the most successful thing that we've done in this coffee community.
I mean, Lao coffee, I mean, it's crazy. Like, really, nobody's heard of it, right? But coffee's been growing since 1857 in Laos. It's been here for a long time. The French brought Typicas and Bourbons from Reunion Island and from Africa here, planted it here, and they cared for it. Of course, there was the Vietnamese-American War that occurred, and I mean, you have these stories of even farmers who were sitting here protecting this coffee during the war, and like there is this beautiful history of coffee. Of course, it's marked by some crazy stuff, but a beautiful long history of coffee that nobody's ever known. And even then, in about 2004, they brought some Kenyan varieties into this area. So we have, SL34 and SL28, if you're familiar with that. These are some really beautiful floral coffees. And when we're here with the normal companies, like, oh, this is what Lao coffee tastes like. It tastes like walnuts, maybe dark chocolate, earthy, tobacco, and spice. And that's what you should expect from Laos coffee. And okay, maybe, but when you really get into the villages, when we're talking about the JCFC, when we're talking about the only Lao-owned cooperative and made up of real villages, like the villages, all of a sudden we're getting floral, jasmine, we're getting rose, we're getting grapefruits, we're getting lemons, limes, we're getting raspberries, we're getting blueberries, we're getting mango, pineapple, we're getting crazy sweetness, honey-like sweetness, molasses, brown sugar, clean white sugar, sugar cane juice. I mean, we're getting juicy, floral, fruity coffees. We're getting some other coffees that are incredibly nutty, full body, and really caramelly. I mean, we're getting coffees that are some of the best in the world. And the interesting thing is, of course, people are now discovering, and you guys will be having it as the first people in the Western Hemisphere to have this quality of Lao coffee. Sharing it with the coffee companies here. Like, this isn't Lao coffee. Like, no, this is absolutely Lao coffee. You just haven't been looking for the right coffees. Finally, if you believe in the people will wow you with what they have. And this is the heritage of Lao coffee. This is the story of Lao coffee. And it's not new. That's the thing to understand. It's just discovered, but it's definitely not new. There's so much history to this, and it's tasty. It's tasty. It's one of those things. In Canada, in North America, we speak English. In Laos, they speak Lao. But there's one thing that we actually do speak in common, and that's the language of coffee. We understand it. We can drink it. So the one thing that we understand is coffee. And this is our common language that we can share with each other. This is how the farmers can communicate to you how much heart they put into this cup of coffee. You can taste the impact, actually. Every year the cup gets a little bit better, a little bit cleaner, a little bit fruitier, a little bit sweeter. And that's them. That's them working for you, saying, thank you. Thank you for supporting us. And that's your way of, supporting them. The money that goes into this thing. No, thank you, actually. And it becomes this exchange of gifts between communities. And that's the power of coffee. It's amazing. It's amazing to have you here and to finally have somebody on the other side saying, yeah, we believe in this and it's so much that we're going to take this coffee. Because, actually what they did this year is they did something that nobody thought they could do. I mean, they really have accomplished the impossible. To go from being thought of as, and these are quotes, dark, dirty, dumb people who were not capable of doing this, to all of a sudden just proving it and giving them some of the best coffee in the world, and them having nowhere to go but except to thank them and say, wow, okay, this is some of the best coffee in the world. For them to have that feeling, them to feel empowered, and for us to see that, us to see them finally smiling and be like, we did it. We actually can do this, and not just can, we did. It was that was important. That was good. And yeah, this coffee means a lot to a lot of people, and I just hope you guys can share that with your customers, because it's Jai. It's hard. It's Jai means Lao. Jai in Lao means heart, but it's really kind of crazy that it's called that, because that's all this is. Yeah, I mean, I'd say there, you know, in this area, there's a lot of underdogs. So there are certain places where like, oh, don't go there. Don't go there. They can't do it. They won't understand. You know, they're just not smart enough. And, you know, you just can't accept that. So we would go out there just to see. It can't be that way. That these people are just incapable. And then going out there to see that they're not lazy, that they're out there saying, please help us. Like, we actually want to do this. Even though everybody says, no, that's not true. They're sitting there, please show us. And then they happen to produce the best of all of them. So, I mean, seeing these transformations of, you know, and breaking down all these misconceptions or these held ideas about certain communities can't, or they're too lazy. And, you know, we get to see this new development in communities. And, you know, how exciting is that for us to be able to see these communities reevaluate themselves and even respect each other and say, oh, we thought you couldn't. And for them to be like, we thought you couldn't, and now congratulations. I mean, seeing people shake hands
and doing it without prepayments.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother story, okay? Because mostly the farmers were doing this before only by being paid, and paid well in advance. So I go, if you pay me, I'll do the work. But you got to pay me now. And yeah, well, you know, you can't do that, because in the world, like, they've never experienced what this is, and they want quality, and they can't just blindly give you money and hope for the best. Like, that's a little bit crazy. Like, it's risk on both sides. They're willing to risk saying, you know, we're going to commit our business to you. If you're willing to risk just a little bit of heart and do this. And then they did, and we've never seen that.
10
we've
tons
never
magically
seen
appeared.
Yeah, I mean,
It's huge.
for them to have 10 tons in that warehouse and them not calling us every day like, where's the money, where's the money, where's the money, when they're sitting there happy because they know that coffee's there, and that coffee has a home, and that coffee has people who have already basically bought this coffee. Like, to know that, and for them to not stress about it, not to worry about it, and to have them not worry about money, which is something in a you know, really impoverished country. Most people are thinking about money all the time, but for them to actually not have that stress,
And
actually
trust.
that's something you've been talking about right now. I think that's one of the biggest things that we've experienced. Like, that's possibly the biggest impact. For them to not be stressing about money for a minute and to be proud. Whoa, that was
Huge.
it's a beautiful thing. I didn't even think about that until now, man.
Yeah, it's massive, man. They trusted us. They trusted that we said we had this, you know, this buyer. Of course, we weren't sure exactly in the moment.
We knew we could.
We knew we could, but they trusted us regardless of whether the prepayment was there or not, and that's the big takeaway from this, is that we've worked with them and educated and committed ourselves to them as much as we possibly could, and they met us halfway, and that was huge this year. Absolutely huge. We believe the time has come that we need to evolve the way that we give. We exist because we believe that clean water is a human right, not a privilege. My wildest dream for Lao Coffee is that Michael and I can visit once a year, maybe for a few weeks or a few months, and spend the rest of our lives in new projects or living in other places. And this thing is completely Lao owned, Lao managed, Lao ran, and we're not involved. And if they need a question or two answered, we can help. But that essentially this thing is completely sustainable with the Lao people running this themselves, because they do it for themselves from their own hearts. And Michael and I can completely put ourselves out of business and just support from the outside.
Awesome.
I'd say if I had a dream, no, I really want to see the communities, and specifically I go back to some of the indigenous minorities. Some of them really are agrarian farmer communities. They are farmers in the deepest sense. to see them empowered to be financially secure, and I mean really financially secure, not, okay, minimum wage, we're making $300 a month in Laos, like really successful farmers and doing it 100% sustainably, so they don't require any petrochemicals, to see them switched on and full of knowledge, and to see the next generation, to see their children see their parents as great people, to see that taking care of the soil and taking care of our planet is something that is deeply honorable and rooted deeply in their soul. To see them recognize that and support that again, because when that light switches on for them, it's a beautiful thing. It's like thousands of years of their people. It's like, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. To see them empowered to feel that way again, I think that would be my dream. Step by step.
As an American, but also the whole of North America, the Vietnamese American War truly was hidden from us. It was not in our textbooks as children, and I believe that this story needs to be told. In Laos, a plane load of bombs was dropped every 8.5 minutes for 9 straight years. This country is the most bombed country in the world per capita. Our farmers still have to actually pick these bombs out of the ground in order to develop new locations where they want to grow coffee, and there's a lot of jungle where they can't actually farm. So I think that coffee in North America, in Canada, with good coffee, and also in America, this coffee is a vehicle for telling the story of these people that really has been not told, and I think that that's what this coffee can do.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think to make it real simple, this coffee is in every way, and I check this all the time. I try to check it as much as I can through ethical schools of thought, but the coffee is some of the most ethically sourced, socially responsible, fair in terms of value given to farmers. This coffee can change lives, and it sounds like a phrase, but I mean it. This coffee can change lives, and so as a person who drinks coffee in the morning, if you want to feel better about one little part of your day, you could even have a terrible day, and in the morning you drink that one coffee, you can feel like you're a good person. That legitimately means you are doing better in the world by that little cup of coffee. So even real simple, you can go really deep into it, but this coffee changes lives, which means really fundamentally your customers can change lives. And so I'll say it to you, but you can change lives with this coffee. It's a cool thing. So what you guys are doing is fantastic, and I wish you all the best, and I hope that they get to drink the best.